So thank you for getting back on time. And I really appreciate you all being here, especially the new people. Wow, it's a great turnout. I think the last year we had 170 to 180 people, and I hear we have 260 people here now. So this is just growing tremendously. It's phenomenal. Really shows what networking can do and how, and making our mark in what we think is a male-dominated industry when really we were the ones behind the males making them more successful, but we didn't really know how much we were bringing ourselves along the way. And this recognition that we have here through this forum is really fantastic for all of us. So in this next portion of the program, we're going to really take a dialed-in look at the millennials. The last speech I gave at the National, I have this little section of my speech that I want to just briefly read to you because I found it kind of thought-provoking as I was writing the speech. I see in our industry becoming more lean by technological innovation, busier at our fingertips, and taxed with more know-how when so many of us baby boomers and Gen Xers already thought we knew how without much help from the millennials. The dated folks had better think again. We have, in this generation, something like 80 million millennials that are up and coming that we have to champion and take on so they can mark our path for the future. The employers really need to pay attention to this Y generation. These up-and-comers need to be recognized to be able to continue our business in relevant fashion, to stay on the edge of new business demands, and complement how the new generation wants to conduct business. One of the things that NAED does is with TED Magazine, they have a 30 under 35 program. And I'm happy here and I'm honored to be with 4 winners of the 30 under 35 program. Let me tell you what that's about. Those 34 years old or younger were eligible to participate in NAED's program. The nominee simply needs to meet one or more of the following: shows a noteworthy amount of dedication and innovation on the job, displays outstanding leadership skills or has taken on a leadership role, has achieved a certification or is focused on training for success, and demonstrates a remarkable people skills and successfully balances work and personal life. The nominations were drawn from mentors, managers, and other industry leaders working in electrical distribution, manufacturing, and related technology and service organizations. The TED editorial team blindly judged each submission, placing an emphasis on such traits as dedication, innovation, leadership, placing emphasis, and people skills, committed to training, personal integrity, and work-life balance. Through their accomplishments, these individuals have demonstrated they have skills and knowledge to lead. In the July issue of the TED Magazine, they'll announce its 2015 30 under 35 list of rising stars from across the electrical industry and be recognized in a special ceremony at NAED's 2015 LEAD Conference. We're privileged to have 4 of these winners with us today. Thank you for joining us. Real briefly, I'll just let you know their names and let you know what their mentor had to say about them. And could you raise your hand when I read your name, please? Stephanie Ellis, Corrosion College Director. Her mentor says, brought a new level of professionalism to Corrosion College. Melissa Bucher, Area Sales Manager for Eaton. Her mentor said she's fearless, thrives on challenge and achievement. Tara Logar, Surge Protection Devices Account Manager, Siemens Canada. Her mentor said, ready to go the extra mile for customers and the company. And lastly, Amanda Wolf, Construction Market Specialist for Border States. Her mentor commented, she's committed to growing her professional career and determined to stay on top of the ever-changing lighting construction market. So with that being said, I'd like to have each person here introduce themselves, state their background, where they're going in their jobs, and then we're going to get into some really cool questions that we came up with before this conference. Each person chose the questions they would at least like to comment on. However, I want you to know that this is an interactive session of our meeting. Everyone is supposed to participate. If you have a question because we're on a really great topic, be sure you raise your hands and let's have some of those discussions. We'll start here.
Amanda Wolf with Border States Electric. I have been in the industry for 11 years, all with at Border States. I started while I was in school. I got to work in the retail showroom because I was going to school for interior design. So I guess you could say I fell in love with the industry because I did not leave and pursue the interior design degree that I got. I did finish it, but I stayed with Border States, a great company. They believed in me, so I took that and drove with it. I was with the showroom for 7 years and have recently been in my current job for 3 as a market specialist and getting to dive into all the different avenues that this industry has, and it's a great opportunity. Personal life, I have 2 kids and a husband. My husband also actually works at Border States too, so we get to enjoy the industry together. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. My name is Stephanie Ellis. I'm with Rob Roy Industries. I am the marketing manager there, as well as I am the director of our Corrosion College program. I've been in the industry for 5 years. It was kind of fell upon it as a mistake, I guess you could say, as far as I never had ever, in my wildest dreams, thought I was going to work in the electrical industry. I'd actually gone to school for broadcast journalism, had worked at NBC in New York City for Conan O'Brien, and kind of took a turn where I ended up moving to Texas, back home, and then ended up coming upon a great opportunity at Rob Roy. When I ended up starting at the company, I actually started off as an assistant within the organization, but they're a great organization to work for. They're one of those organizations where if you have the drive and the commitment, the opportunity is definitely there. So I took that, ran with it, and I've been in the marketing position for about 9 months now, and kind of worked my way up there as far as Corrosion College as well. Started off just as coordinating and getting people registered, and now I also run that educational program. I'm married. I have no children, but I have 2 dogs, which are pretty much my kids. So glad to be here and talk with you guys today.
Hi, I'm Melissa Bucher. I've been with Eaton Corporation for almost 8 years. I started as an intern in Denver, Colorado. So I went back, finished school at the University of Nebraska-Kearney, studied industrial distribution. Finished that, and I started on Eaton's leadership development program here in Denver again. So that's about a year-long program, and a Resi Light commercial sales engineer role came open in Denver. So I took that for a few years, and then another position in Denver came open. I really like Denver. And I took that covering Western Colorado. Then I wanted to, while in Colorado, I did my MBA online at the Jack Welch Management Institute. And when I finished that, I wanted to try something different. So I reached out to a couple people, and I actually got a phone call from one of our VPs in the control division, and he said, "How do you feel about coming to Cleveland, Ohio?" I'm like, "Oh, all right." So I went and applied for that job, and I actually got the job, and I was the national sales manager for the Control Panel Flex Center. So I went home and I said, "Honey, how do you feel about Cleveland, Ohio?" So then we moved across country. Did that for about a year and a half, and then I got a phone call and said, "How do you feel about West Virginia? We've got an opportunity in West Virginia." I said, "I've never been to West Virginia, but we'll go explore this." So I applied for that and got that position, and then I said, "Honey, we're moving to West Virginia." So I loaded him, the dog, and my 4-month-old, and we moved to West Virginia about a year ago. And it's been a great opportunity. I'm the area sales manager for all of West Virginia. I have a great team there and really enjoying what I'm doing.
Hi, I'm Tara Logar. I am currently with Rexel here in Denver. I started out in the electrical industry after a 10-year career in the airline industry. I needed a job. I was a stay-at-home mom, and things had changed. And this company called Advanced Protection Technologies in Clearwater, Florida, where I was living at the time, was hiring a bilingual salesperson. So I speak French and obviously English, so I decided to apply for the position. Unfortunately, I didn't get it, but they liked me enough to offer me another job supporting our Siemens product line that we would build for Siemens. So I took that as sort of an entry-level position. Like I said, I needed a job, and learned the Siemens product line and just started putting in my effort every day and started being recognized by the company. So I started out at the entry-level position. By the time I left that company last year, I was the national sales manager for the APT product line. At the time that I was nominated for 30 under 35, I was in charge of our Siemens line in Canada. So that was an interesting experience, being able to travel to Canada to support that. But in any case, I decided to relocate for personal reasons to Colorado last summer, and decided to make the jump from manufacturing to distribution. So I am now a commercial account manager with Rexel. I call on contractors that are involved in anything from water, wastewater to multifamily here in Denver. It's a huge booming economy, so there's a lot of opportunity. Last May, I did finish my bachelor's degree in management and organizational leadership, so I assume that one day I might get tired of managing accounts and get back into actual management, outside of the sales role. I also have 3 kids, and I'm sort of a little bit older. I actually might be the only person who got an asterisk when the results were announced, as I was 34 when they selected me. I was 35 when they published. So I'm actually raising millennials. I have a 20-year-old daughter, an 18-year-old son, and a 15-year-old son, and we live down in Colorado Springs.
Interesting. Well, great, thank you for that. I applaud all of you for your contribution and your energy going forward, because I remember I've been in the industry for 33 years now, and I remember that energy. I try to keep that up. Now that I'm 53, I try to keep that engine running just as strong, and it's important that we keep that level going, because it really does take you places. So with that being said, let's start out with one of the questions that there was a lot of interest in this question, so I'm going to start out with this. Communication. Said it was a very, very important tool, but there's certain ones I think that are more important than others. So maybe we could speak to that, and you can just chime in.
I'll start. Communication is huge, especially in the role that I have, which is sales. You have to be an effective communicator in order to be successful. And as I've developed my sales skills, the thing that I have, 2 things I'll say that I have learned is, number one, really knowing and understanding your audience. You can speak to a C-level executive in one way, and it needs to be very clear, very concise, very direct, don't waste their time. You can speak to a guy who has a 10-man electrical shop in a very different way, because he's got 2 hours for you to talk. So understanding the audience and being able to mimic and reflect their communication style, I think, is the first thing that's very important. The second thing, as a salesperson, we were actually talking about this a little bit earlier, I think a lot of times in sales we get accustomed to wanting to go through our checkpoints. We got to hit this on a sales call. We got to hit this point. We got to make sure we talk about our features and benefits, etc. And what I've learned is that the more time you take to understand your customers' needs, the more effective you are as a salesperson. So asking open questions, getting them to talk, and leading them sort of to their own conclusion about what they need will help you, because they don't argue. I said this earlier, they don't argue with their own conclusions. So if you can get them to where you want them to be by asking effective questions, your sale is so much easier. And you can kind of take that, and even if you're not in a sales role, you can kind of take that to another level with anything that you do, because you're always dealing with customers, whether they're internal or external.
I like that. I think that's knowing your audience is an extremely important part. One of the things I see from a generational gap standpoint is starting to be effective communication versus convenient communication. I think a lot of times it's one of those things where when people come into an organization and they're newer, you really need to coach them on, because I think it's so easy for someone to send an email to someone versus walk 2 doors down and talk to that person face to face. I think also the problem with some of the communication today that is so convenient is there's no emotion behind it. When you read, text, you can't know how that person's feeling, but if you see them face to face, especially with certain topics that need to occur, there are going to be discussions during your career that are hard to have, but I think having those face to face is extremely important. To tail on to that, I'm not saying that there are not times when a text message or an email isn't convenient, but I think that's just one of the things with our generation that we need to consistently remember, is to make sure our communication is effective. So that's probably the point I would say there.
Another thing to think about too is, yes, is communication with our sales our customers, but it's also internal communication with our fellow employees, with everybody we work with, keeping that open and making sure that they feel comfortable coming to you for something, anything, is really important to be able to knock on the door of your office and walk in and say, I have something I need to talk to you about. It might be little, it might be small, it might be big, but really keeping those doors open. Like you said, with the emotions, you get a lot more being face-to-face than you do through an email. So I think definitely keep that in mind as we go forward.
Thank you. I was in a communication roundtable earlier, and I know one of the things that came out of that roundtable is to be an ambassador of communication is really important. I mean, the more you can be out there and you're communicating with everybody in your company and not just your, sphere of influence, it really does help carry your name and your position a lot further. So thank you for that.